You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm itsasherz and this is
Tobias.
Tobias. How's your last 2 weeks?
Oh boy, yeah, I forgot. It's been 2 whole weeks, so it's been great. Yeah, got a lot of good gaming in, so I was pretty happy about that. Managed to play in my Traveler game the last 2 Saturdays, and ran some Castles and Crusades. Not this past Saturday, but the prior Saturday, so that was good. In paranormal goings on. That book that Richard Estep and I wrote is in its final editing phase, and so we've received a copy of that. Yeah, we've received a PDF copy of that from the publisher, Llewellyn, and so this is our opportunity to go through and make final edits and I think provide our author bios, like that kind of stuff. So, I'm pretty excited about that. I feel like the fact that this book isn't completely done, like completely done. I mean, it's not as though there's any major work left. This is really minor stuff, especially because it represents like probably the 3rd or 4th editing pass. But because it's not completely done, I just can't I can't commit myself wholeheartedly to a new project. And so I am anxiously anticipating this just being done so I can jump in, to the next thing that I actually want to do. And I didn't realize that this process is what it is, when it comes to traditional publishing. I had no idea. It's not bad. It's just different than what I'm used to, because what I'm used to is just doing whatever the fuck I want. Right. And that's just not an option when it comes to traditional publishing. You've got to do what they want, sort of on their timeline. And Llewellyn has been great to work with, so no complaints here. But it is a whole nother animal. So that'll be great. I'm really looking forward to getting this into people's hands too, because I think this Mothman book is going to be something that they've never seen before. And I'm pretty proud of it. I know Richard's pretty proud of it. And we certainly, worked our asses off traveling to various states to gather research for it. So I think people will dig it. I think the right people will dig it. There'll be some dipshits who aren't going to like it, but who fucking cares, right? Like cool people are definitely going to like this book, and that's exciting to me. So I don't know. Yeah, that's about what I've been doing. My normal nerd stuff. So all about tabletop role-playing games, and then paranormal stuff, trying to just get these final edits in and get this book completely done. Otherwise, I've got speaking engagements coming up that I have to start thinking about too. And so I've got, Haunted America in June, and then the Illinois Paranormal Conference in July, and then maybe something in August. I don't want to announce it quite yet because I don't think that it is completely official. And then, the Goatman Festival in October. I don't want to forget the Van Meter Visitor Festival in September. That'll be a really cool one too. And so I've got to get my presentations together. And, like the Haunted America one is going to be a workshop that Emily and I are doing on human consciousness and how it applies to investigating the paranormal. And I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be really interesting. But I've got to get the slides together, right? Like I have to get all of these notes down in a presentable format. And we'll bring some like equipment and stuff, and I want people to be able to test out some of these methodologies, right? Like I want people who've never held a pendulum or dowsing rods or participated in like an Estes method session or something to be able to try all of that stuff. And so that you can't really plan around. That's just, okay, I brought this stuff, now let's use it. But I also want to be able to provide people with a background on, and this is the hard part, a background sort of condensing down research on consciousness and then various states of consciousness and then how that might apply to paranormal phenomena. And again, it's a fascinating subject, but it's also work, trying to
Yeah.
get all those thoughts together and get it down in a palatable format. And also it reminds me that like I've been sitting inside all fucking winter. Like I need to get out and investigate stuff again. I need to get back out in the woods and, start talking to fucking ghosts and shit, because it's been a while. So, like I've got that on my mind. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm coming out of hibernation right now, and we'll just see what happens.
Got a bunch of ideas brewing. Just
Right? Oh
putting them
yeah.
into action. Do you know what you want to do yet when this book is done? Have you already decided?
Well, I'm leaning heavily towards that Shadow People book that I talked about, because I really, really feel strongly that there's something there in the research and investigation that I've already done, because shadow people are this common element across all paranormal phenomena. Like if you're into ghosts and hauntings and cryptids and monsters and UFOs and alien abduction, well, you'll see shadow people represented in each and every one of those fields, every single one of them. And that's fascinating to me. Like I've received shadow person reports because of Mothman sightings. I've seen them, or I've had them received because of people who thought their houses were haunted. I've certainly seen them, represented in accounts of like alien abduction and similar. And I want to know why that is, right? And so I think that would be a really interesting book. And I don't know that I'm going to solve the mystery, obviously, but I do think that it's something people should be talking more about. When I did that Unsolved Mysteries episode not that long ago, and that came out, like I talked about having shadow person encounters for like 5 seconds. Like they didn't want my entire life story. They wanted like a tiny snippet of why I bother with all this weird shit, right? And so I just mentioned that as like an offhand thing. And I received probably, had to be almost as many people contacting me because of shadow people as were contacting me about Mothman.
Oh yeah, believe
And
it.
so I know it's huge. I know people are experiencing it, and people have a lot of questions, and it really is very strange. So yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning.
Sure. Well, not that you have to make any decisions right now. Like,
Sure.
it's something I keep having to tell myself is, like, lady, you just published a book. Like, you don't have to put another one out next week. Like, to
Yeah,
chill.
about every 2 years is good for me. So like if the whatever I do next, I would expect it to be like principally done by the end of 2026, and then like published sometime in 2027.
Yeah.
So if I've got a book coming out September of 2025, you can expect my next one around fall of 2027. I'm just not one of those multiple books a year authors, and nothing against people who are, but there's no way you're doing your best work if you're putting out that much work. And I understand the need to do that if you're trying to make a living, but I care way less about the money than I do the than the work, right? And that's easy for me to say because I mean, I'm not writing books and trying to feed my family that way. Not that you fucking can in 2025, not
Yeah.
easily anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, I'm just not one of those people who just churns out books or anything. So
Well,
every
and
one every 2 years.
and not against anybody that is good at, because some of these people, wow, you guys are impressive. I don't know how you do it. But a lot of it's just rehashing of the same stuff that we already know.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in their own perspective, and that's fine. Um, but there's something different about taking a topic and thoroughly investigating it and adding that perspective to the book. you know? And
Well, that's my
sometimes it's
point.
great and you have lots of information to share, and sometimes it is just fucking stagnant and you've hit a brick wall and you just kind of got to wait for the next big breakthrough to come in before you can really pick it back up and continue. So,
Right. Yeah, I see. I mean, that's kind of my point, like, I don't, if you're going to publish multiple books a year, then there's there's just no way around it. Like, the quality is going to suffer,
yeah, you
and
can't
you're
be
not
thoroughly
always,
investigating it.
well, yeah, well, it's just, yeah, you just can't. And it's there, it's just not going to be interesting enough for my standards. And again, this isn't supposed to be a knock on anybody who is publishing a bunch of books every year. Like, that's fine. Obviously, you got to do what you got to do. It's just for me personally. I've got one book every couple of years in me, because I want to be able to look at every single one of them and go, okay, like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is a 2-year book. Like, this was worth it. Um, that's just me. Plus, shit happens too. I never want to be one of those people who has to cut corners because I had some issue in my life where, I had a deadline and not enough time to hit it, or anything like that. So giving yourself tons of time like this helps a lot to
Yeah.
to deal with anything that might come up in your actual life too. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've going by this, I still have 3 books out right now. I'll have a fourth. I mean, that's more books than I ever thought I would write in my life 10 years ago. If you would have asked me a
Yeah.
decade ago how many books, I would be like, wow, I would be so happy to have one book out, like, that would be so amazing. Let alone, going on 4. And, yeah, I know people and they've got 20, 30 fucking books out, and, like, that's super cool. But a lot of them, it's literally just stories that have been collected, and that's cool. But they don't always have the the depth that I want to have. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just collect people's stories. That's not enough for me. I want it to be deeper than that, and that takes more time.
I had to
So
do something intimidating that I didn't want to do, and my mom, she was like, "You can do it. You wrote a book." And I'm like, "That's not how this works."
it is how it works. If once you've written a book, you can do anything.
You literally do anything. I was like, "Oh, well." It was pretty wholesome. I was like, "Yeah, that's not, but thank you."
Nice.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, hey, and listen, there's nothing wrong with rehashing an old story. I like a good remake. I think a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
people
fine.
do, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I totally understand what you're saying, because I had somebody early on trying to get me to write books about stuff, and they were like, "You can literally just take this story and put it into a book and put your name on it and call it yours." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yep.
but I don't want to do that."
Yeah, I don't buy those books personally.
Yeah, not
I'm
interested.
not interested in them, and I don't want to write them. So
That's I'm good on that. So no, I totally get it. Well, it sounds like you've had an interesting 2 weeks.
I have had an interesting 2 weeks.
Not
Do you
bad,
want
not
to talk
bad.
about your 2 weeks?
I do. Yes,
I wasn't sure, so I asked.
well, that's okay. I can, discuss because I've done a lot of other stuff. So, I'll just kind of get the elephant out of the room. Sure, some people have seen I lost a family pet in the last week, and that was very hard because I've had him since he was 5 weeks old, and I had
Yeah.
him just shy of 15 years old. This cat was older than my child, and so it was difficult, and it really, something like death, it makes you take stock. And I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about taking stock. And I have definitely taken a lot of stock the last couple years, more than I ever
Yeah.
have, you know, probably my entire life. So that was, another one of those let's take stock type of moments. Well, I don't deal with, depression. The way that I deal with depression, I'm going to say it's different from everybody else. It's not, is that I stay very busy. And so it's actually, God, I don't want to say depression is good for me because obviously I feel fucking terrible, but it's very productive for me. Do a lot, get a get a lot done because that's easier than sitting and dealing with it, right? So I've as much as that has been very difficult, and it has been, um, I, I've done a lot of stuff, you guys. Stuff number one, let me tell you, I am now co-hosting another podcast, the Bloody Bits Horror Show. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it before because I've been on it before and I've pumped those shows here before. But now you're going to hear me pretty regularly over there. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing this so the quality of this show is going to go down or we're going to start skipping Wednesdays all the time. um Certainly not why we skipped last week, right? So no worries there, but go check that out if you guys are interested. We've done 2 episodes so far. We just did Terrifier 3, and then this week's episode is Mysterious Skin, which I had just talked about a couple weeks ago on this show. But if you want to hear me talk about it in depth, go to the Bloody Bits Horror Show podcast and check that out. And we're gonna have Tobias on there at some point, but he's always being a nerd on the weekends, and that's when we record. So we'll have to figure that out. Um, I'm sure we can
It's tough. I
come up
don't know
with
if
something.
you record on a Saturday, you could maybe catch me on a Saturday.
Oh gosh, we'll squeeze you in. It'll happen. Um,
Sure.
but it's fun. It's different from this show, in a different way. It's just all I have to do is watch a movie and talk about it, and that's cool. And I love horror. Wanted a reason to get back into horror, as far as the community goes, and this has been, great for that. I also went and I took my daughter. We went and watched the Minecraft movie, which I know
How was
either.
that?
So it was really, really fucking stupid. Like, really fucking stupid. But I liked
I am
it because of
shocked.
it. Yeah, I know, right? So who would have thought? So she wanted to go see it for a while, and it's just the schedule, I have a 13-year-old, of course she wants to watch a Minecraft movie.
Sure.
And the schedule I was doing, it wasn't really matching up with the time. So the Minecraft movie has been victim to this trend going on. Do you know about this?
Is it the one where Jack Black had to release something, or like the didn't the director get mad and then Jack Black released like some tongue-in-cheek thing telling people not to do it, but kind of secretly encouraging them to do it?
Pretty much, yeah. So the kids are destroying movie theaters showing the Minecraft movie. Not so much anymore. The hype's kind of died down, but that's what's been the trend. So when a certain scene happens, kids were throwing their food and drink into the audience, screaming and yelling and whooping and having a good time. I mean, the screaming and yelling, the cheering and stuff like that's not an issue. But
Yeah.
like, if I were sitting in that audience and a whole fucking 40-ounce Pepsi landed on me, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
That's not fucking okay. And as somebody who worked at a movie theater for many years of my life, yeah, I don't want to fucking usher those theaters. That fucking sucks. It went from them doing something silly and fun to, of course, you've got people taking it to the next level, right? And being assholes about it. And these are kids, and kids are assholes, so they really don't
It's
care.
true.
Um, but I kind of wanted to see for myself if that's what would happen. So I wanted to go during a time when it was busy just to see. And we did, and it didn't happen. So even like a little cheer didn't even happen. And maybe I should have been the one to cheer during the scene, right? But I didn't. So I didn't want to incite a riot, so I did not. But anyway, we did have fun with it, and it was just kind of a reminder that, you know, you can watch stupid fucking movies and have fun with it. Like, not everything has to be that deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, will I ever watch it again? Probably not. But would I watch a sequel? Fuck yeah, I'd be there for it. It was so ridiculous. So,
Nice.
and I don't know anything about the game. Like, I've never played Minecraft. We're watching stuff, and I'm talking to, my daughter's like, "Oh, that's blah blah blah." I'm like, "What's that? What's that mean? What is this? Is this part of the game?" She's like telling me. So, but we had fun there, and then this past weekend, we went last year, but we went again this year to the local psychic fair. I think last year, fittingly, or would have been fittingly for this episode, they dubbed it a Beltane festival. This year it was just a psychic fair. So I don't know why they downgraded it, or upgraded it to psychic fair, I guess, depending on who you are. But we went. It's just
Huh.
basically vendors selling pretty rocks and stuff. We
Are
didn't
they
buy any.
psychic rocks? Will they make me more psychic?
I think so. Yeah, I think I
I'm
think
already
everything
extremely psychic.
I think everything you buy there it makes you more psychic. So, I know there were some vendors like selling different foods and stuff. If you consume those foods, then you are now more psychic than you were. It's pretty impressive. But we just went. It was just a nice afternoon. Talked to everybody. I have a problem. I can't when I go to these things. I have to talk to every single vendor. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm like that. I just can't help myself. But the reason why it's a problem, here's the biggest reason why it's a problem, is because I vend and attend and talk at these events. So when I have the intention to go shop around and go buy something, I make it 5 tables, and I've already been away from my table for entirely too fucking long. It's Tobias, you know that. You're there at Frogman.
Oh, I know. No, Ann and I talked about it at length.
It's
How
crazy.
you're just gonna now that you have a book out, you can't do that shit. You got to be at your table the whole event. You
I
can't
have to
circulate.
learn how to just nod and not fucking say anything. But the thing is like I'll catch a glimpse at their table, immediately know that I'm not interested in something, but I feel like I still owe them something. So I owe them conversation. And it's so weird. I don't know why. I don't know, because I feel like if I just walk away without saying anything, they think their stuff sucks. And it's not that your stuff sucks, it's just that I'm not interested in it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
fair enough.
And it's not like they want to sit there and shoot the shit with me when I'm not going to buy anything off their table, because I know what it's like being on the other side of that table. So,
Right?
but anyway, so we went and I talked to fucking everybody that was there, goddamn everyone that was there, and then we left, and then the next day I met up with somebody who's a fan of the show, bought a bunch of copies of my books, my book to give out to a bunch of people, and we met up at D20, the bar I always talk about, and hung out there for a while, and that was fun. Did not play any role playing games, but did hang out.
Boo.
Did hang out for a while. But there were groups there, and I was talking to the owner, which I was talking about before. I like her, and she was telling me about like the different beginner groups and stuff that they have. So I definitely need to get a list of their events and do that, because she also reaffirmed, yeah, you could just pretty much just join in, like that's what those groups are for. I'm like, okay,
I told you. We
I didn't
are
believe you. I
I
guess.
nobody ever does. Like you and Emily should fucking hang out more often because that's two women I know who just never believe a fucking thing I say. But I'm telling you, like we are desperate. Nerds are desperate for you to join our hobbies. Like anybody to just do the thing that we love with us. And so we are the most inclusive group of people you will ever meet. We don't care anything at all about you other than that you want to do this thing that we're obsessed with, and so we will welcome you with open arms, wholeheartedly, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so I just need to do it. That's what it is. And considering I'm now trying to fill my time with anything and everything, now is the time. To try new things, especially. So, yeah. And then I did get invited to an event, a local event that's happening. If you guys want to check that out, it is the Fairborn UFO Conference in Fairborn, Ohio, at the Holiday Inn. I
Sweet.
will be there. I won't be speaking, which is weird, but I'll be there selling my books. You buy my books, selling other things too. Come buy my other shit so I can sell out of it and not have to tote everything around all the time except books. Um, but come check that out. It's a new event. They've never done it before, hoping to turn it into an annual thing. We can't do that unless you guys show up in full force and show Fairborn how fucking weird we all are. We love that. We love when you do that. So come support it. And yeah, that's my that was my weekend.
But how psychic is it?
It's well, it's probably about I'd say 30% psychic.
30% psychic.
I'd
Okay,
say
so
30%
we have
psychic.
some contactee stuff, maybe.
Probably. Yeah,
Okay,
probably.
okay, I can get on board with that. I love a classic contactee story.
Yeah,
So
I know there's a bunch of cool speakers that's going to be there. Probably some people you guys have heard of. I'll have to get the list and post it out there for you so you can see. And there's like other cool events like the night but if you come for the weekend the night before, there's like an alien costume contest at like a local theater, and then there's something going on Sunday, a workshop or something. So June
oh wow.
7th is like the day of like just like the actual conference itself. But then like I said, they've kind of embraced it. Fairborn is like known for that. Like that's another thing. Fairborn is known as like it's like Halloween town. So Fairborn has this giant Halloween store, and it's not just one Halloween store, it's a collection of Halloween stores. It's called Foy's, so it's very famous. You can come check out Foy's and go visit Foy's for free while you're in Fairborn. And
Hmm.
so Fairborn kind of takes on, embraces being weird. So this is the perfect type of festival for all of us.
Yeah,
So
that sounds awesome.
it'll be very fun. Um, Want to get into some news?
Sure.
Oh man, I got two newses.
Oh boy.
Two news.
I've got
Oh
one,
man,
but it can wait till last. It's fine.
let me see. Which one do I want to talk about first?
The less weird one.
The less weird one? Okay, we'll talk about the less weird one. So there has been a cattle mutilation in Montana, but not the way you think.
That's
Not
the less weird one. All
That's the
right.
less
This
weird one.
is shaping up nicely. Okay.
I think it's Chowtow County, Montana, but I don't really know. But that's what we're gonna say, Chowtow County, Montana. So the sheriff's office has reported that a cow there has been shot. So obviously we know it's not aliens, right? Shot, but then the shooter of the cow proceeded to skin its face and remove its tongue. What is
Oh.
particularly unusual about this is that
Uh,
this is the third case that in this area, in this general area that this has happened to.
so it's like a cattle mutilation copycat killer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of course the sheriff's office of course they suspect it's a person or persons, but they don't really know much beyond that. So they are looking for further information. If you live in the area and you happen to know who the cow face skinner is, then let them know. But very unusual. It is definitely cattle mutilation. So,
Yeah, true.
very, very suspicious. I mean, to me, it sounds like you'll have people that'll probably say we all know what it is, right? It's a satanic cult. It has to be. That's the only option.
Oh, maybe, I guess.
But it's not that. Satanists don't do that type of thing. Maybe people pretending to be Satanists do that type of thing, but Satanists don't do that type of thing. So definitely not them. Could just be one fucking weirdo, right? I mean, that serial killers, will kill animals too. That's not unusual. Who knows? But without further details, I'll be checking this one out because I am curious how this one ends. Hopefully, they catch who does it. I don't know.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because you got to be some kind of sick fuck to just do that to some innocent animal.
Any
But
animal. Yeah.
because it is so specific to traditional cattle mutilation, like there has to be a connection there. So either it's somebody who like thinks they are a Satanist and is trying to like copy that element of it, or it's somebody who is trying to hoax like alien abduction, cattle
Yeah.
mutilation kind of stuff. I don't know, but it can't be a coincidence that they are mimicking the traditional symptoms of cattle mutilation like that. There has to be a connection there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that it probably, to me, it seems more like a weird hoax. I don't know. I mean, I've never thought about skinning a cow's face off, so yeah,
Oh, really? Oh,
never, not once.
interesting.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's all I think about. So,
Every day.
oh no, that would be an issue.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm curious to see what kinds of stories come out of Montana because I agree it definitely could be somebody attempting to hoax something like this. So, do we have any like recent abductees coming out of Montana or any strange UFO stories coming out of there yet? I haven't come across any, but I will be keeping my skin peeled for that information. So we'll see what happens.
Please do. Cenobites love that about you.
They're like skin peeling, yes.
Finally.
Let's get into the weird one. But longtime
Yeah.
listeners of the show are gonna love the shit out of this. And honestly, because so this event happened. Somebody specific reached out to me, and there's kind of been an update on an old story, and we'll get there. But I completely forgot about it because of my crazy life events until the gracious fan I met with on Sunday had reminded me of the case in general. So there has been an update kind of to the famous alien penis story. So let's get into it.
Hmm.
I am going to give a quick rundown about what I mean in regard to the alien penis story, especially for people that don't know. Um, in 2020, specifically around kind of Halloween 2020, a guy had reached out to me on Facebook claiming to have the largest penis in the world. Okay. Gets weird. That part's not weird. That's pretty typical for me, but it gets weird.
Right. No, I get it. Like that's just like an average woman's day on the
Yeah,
internet. Yeah.
right. That's totally normal. Um, he proceeds to show me his biggest penis in the world, and I'll tell you, it's big. And so I'm like, well, why aren't you doing like why aren't you the record holder for this? Because when I Google biggest penis in the world, it ain't you. It's some fucking guy in some other country. And he says, well, I have actually. Guinness came out, measured my penis. We were gonna, do a whole bit about it. They confirmed it. So, was the largest one. Well, after that, all of my stuff got hacked and by the government. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that.
why would the government care about you?
They don't.
Oh, well, it's because he has a reason. Because it's not just he has this very large penis, it's that he is the hybrid of 5 different types of alien into one. And the reason why his penis is so large is to draw attention to him. He is a walking billboard for multiple alien species. So we had the guy on the show. Because here's the thing about it. Here's the reality of it is that okay, that's obviously bullshit, right? He came on the show and he told this whole story about how he like lived on Mars for 2 years and that ended up only being like a couple months Earth time, right? And he
Sure.
fought this whole war and he had all this guilt because he was responsible for all these like deaths that happened during this war and it was really
Oh
cinematic.
yeah.
It was pretty out
No,
there
all those dead Martians probably haunt his dreams, I
all
bet.
the time, all the time, and so all that is definitely bullshit. But let me tell you what is not bullshit. This guy, for sure, I've seen it with my own eyes, had the largest penis in the world. Okay, that part of the story has always stuck with me. Now, Tobias, when you were on the show here, I did kind of a weird. I think I had mentioned this at some point. I know I had because I talked about watching porn, and I came across this video of this guy with this obviously fake, very large prosthetic penis, and I thought
Yeah.
maybe that's what this was, right?
That's the first thing I thought of when you told me about it. I was like, that's not real. It's just a
Right.
prosthetic. They are very convincing. Like,
It's
seriously,
right.
you can get a very
It's a
convincing one.
prosthetic. And so I was like, okay, maybe that's that. Well, I get an email out of the blue, completely unsolicited, sometime right after the last episode that we did. And they sent the email to the podcast email address on WednesdaysWeTalkWeird at gmail.com if you want to send us something. And it was titled Halloween 2020 episode. I'm just going to read you a bit of it here. Hi, a bit of a weird message, but I've been doing some research on behalf of my client, Matt Barr, with 2 R's, who has the world's largest medically verified penis, parentheses, 14 inches, and still growing. And came across an old episode of your show where you discuss a call from a listener who may have the claim to that title. Did anything ever come of this? Matt has also been looking into making some lifestyle/enlargement videos. So if you had any insight to share, that would be amazing. Thanks, Sarah. Before I did anything, now, of course, Sarah doesn't know what the updates were because while we did do that episode with the original guy, it was deleted. You can only find it at the Patreon, patreon.com/WednesdaysTalk. Sorry, that's the way it is. But before I did anything, I Googled Matt Barr penis.
Of course.
And you at home can do this too. She's medically verified, right? There's got to be pictures of it. You at home can do this too. And sure enough, there is an entire website for this guy. And, when I go and I look at it, there's no nudes, but there's ways to get nudes. I didn't go that far, but on his website, you can clearly see his penis, through everything. And it is definitely, it is pretty comparable to that guy. Now, that guy definitely was bigger, but it is very comparable. There's tons of photos. And when I'm going through the photos, some of the photos were very much in line with some of the photos I had seen. Now, I had seen bare penis, I complete with nothing covering it. But some of the photos he had it wrapped up. Or kind of with various socks on it, and it was kind of strange. Well, this Matt Barr guy does also. So I'm like, here's the thing. This is a thing. This must be a thing. And when we kind of talked a little bit more, she had mentioned that because she's some type of representative of him, that Matt Barr does this to enlarge it, but it's also kind of part of a super rare genetic issue. And that's really why he was really interested in, getting in contact with this other guy, is because it's hard to find other guys that way. However, the guy is working on making instructions on how to do this to your penis also. So it seems like it's possible for everybody, but maybe people with this particular, medical issue, have a, they can get bigger than other people. So it felt very validating to me, because for the longest time I've been telling the story. If anybody ever asks what's the weirdest story you've ever heard, it's always that one. It's got nothing
Sure.
tops alien penis. But I don't think anybody's ever believed it. And now I feel like finally there's somebody with a comparable penis that's out and here in the wild that I can point them to and go, look, it's a thing.
Well, I mean, sure. I've never doubted that there are monster dicks out there. Sure there are. We knew that before the fucking internet existed, right?
Well, true.
But yeah, I guess because when you say 14 inches, that's big, but that's not impossibly big to me. And I think I was always picturing this dude with I don't know, a 4-foot dick or whatever, right? Just wrapped around his fucking leg like a barber pole. And that I was like, well, that's fucking bullshit. There's no way that's real. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's possible. I'll tell you what's not possible is penis enlargement. That shit is always bullshit, and they're just trying to steal your money. So don't fall for it.
Yes.
I'm just letting you know. I
Those
have not
advertisements. Yeah. Are
right.
Not,
So whatever this dude is selling, and I'm sorry, Matt Barr or whatever, it doesn't work. Don't buy it. I'm just saying.
Well, from my understanding, because now I've got a little bit more understanding about what's going on here. He can't use his penis for sex. It's not a sexual thing. So
No, of
this
course not.
this penis stretching is a type of genital mutilation.
Ew.
So if you go that route and you decide to enlarge your penis that way, it is strictly for aesthetic reasons and personal to you. It's not because then you'll be able to use your monster cock on anybody. So just
Oh.
know that.
So I'm happy having, genitals that are functional, and I'm not really interested in changing that. So
I like how you're like, well, 14 inches doesn't seem very big to me.
I just it doesn't seem impossibly big is all. That's all
Uh,
I'm saying.
then we all find out that really, like, you had one of your legs amputated as a baby, and this whole
Right.
time.
It's just a giant dick.
That's why you never see Tobias without his shoes on.
That's right. I went from being the tripod to the bipod.
That's the way it is. It feels like closure to me. You know what I mean? Like there's finally some type of reasonable explanation because like it really and that's how I always end the story. Like, right? I usually it's a lot longer and drawn out and I play it up for laughs and
Sure.
I tell the whole thing and at the very end of it, I always say, I don't know. I can't tell you that this guy was an alien, but what I can tell you is that he has the biggest cock I've ever seen and it's true. That part's true. So, between the prosthetic or some weird stretching penis disorder or whatever, I'll take that over the prosthetic. And I think that in this case, that is what's going on here. That's what happened with that guy. And I'm interested to see Matt Barr is putting out a book. I know that much. I want to speak with him directly. I know he wants to speak with me about this guy. And at some point, we're going to sit down and have a little powwow about big cocks. And that'll be interesting. So I'll let you guys know how that goes.
Big flaccid cocks.
Big flaccid cocks. Yeah, they are. Yeah. Big and
Permanently limp dicks.
forever. Yep. Because
Right.
that's
So I'm just saying, because when
psychology,
you say
right?
you're going to sit down and talk about big cocks, people might be like, "Oh, that's awesome. That sounds great." No, there's no boners here, people. This is boner free zone. These are limp dicks
It's
only.
completely medical, physically and psychologically. It is not sexy at all. I know it sounds sexier than it is, but it's seriously not. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. But I thought like I said, I thought it was really cool. It felt validating for me. It felt like some closure. Go Google Matt Barr penis, and you guys can see it too. It is big. It is
Okay.
good for him.
Very good.
So that was my news.
I mean, what could possibly follow that? Oh God! Luckily, I don't have any major news. I did just want to talk a little bit about this game that's coming out that I'm actually super into, and trust me, it's relevant to the paranormal. So, of course, everybody who listens to the show knows that I'm into tabletop role playing games. And a while ago, I came across this backer kit, which is, if you're not familiar with backer kit, it's just another crowdfunding website, like basically like Kickstarter. And I came across this backer kit for a game called Liminal Horror. And I looked into it because obviously I'm a role playing game fan. I'm a horror fan. This seems like it would be made for me. And I looked into it and absolutely, I love everything about this game. It's got good streamlined rules mechanics. The vibe is spot on, and you basically play as normal people, thrust into these bizarre, horrific circumstances, right? And it can vary. Like there's no specific setting, and so you could play out almost any horror film or work of literature or whatever you can think of. And it got me thinking, and I swear to God, like I am in no way being compensated for saying this. And I want to be very clear about that because I really it's just something that I'm personally passionate about. And it got me thinking about how these games intersect with the paranormal, right? Because I don't think that they are entirely separate. I think that these games, especially these ones like Liminal Horror, that purposely explore paranormal spaces can be useful to us. I think that there is a way to sort of introspectively examine the paranormal through these games that often gets ignored, and it's something I've kind of done before, when I've been running games that deal with sort of real life paranormal issues. If nothing else, I think they provide room for us to sort of process like thought experiments. So I can give you an example, right? Like the paranormal doesn't perform on demand as much as we wish it would, as much as various fucking tours and haunted locations promise it does. I promise you it does not. And it's not predictable. It's largely not repeatable. And so it's very difficult to study. But what we have here, and what I have done before, is to just run various thought experiments, like as you're playing this game. So it's already a fairly immersive experience, playing role playing games. But then on top of that, you can kind of use them as this environment to play out some of these ideas. It can get you thinking about, what exactly is a ghost? What would a ghost have to be to have the qualities that people claim that ghosts have? For instance, if you are trying to, run this game that has a ghost in it, and you're required to think about how it interacts with these mechanics, like with the mechanics of this game. It really sort of forces you to think about these questions, and they're questions that not only go unanswered, they go unasked, like way too often in this field. And so I think that games like this, these horror games, are a sort of untapped paranormal resource. Like, they're not just fun, but believe me, they are super fun. I think they're also a way for us to examine the paranormal through a fresh perspective. And so I wrote a whole long thing about that. That's on my website, of course. And the people who make this game, Goblin Archives, were cool enough to send me their press kit. So I went ahead and I just published the entirety of it at the end of my short essay on why horror games are important to the paranormal. But yeah, I encourage anybody who's even a little curious to check this out, because I really think that I'm onto something here. And worst case scenario, you end up checking out a game that's fucking awesome, right? So you really have nothing to lose.
Very neat. I haven't gotten to read that. I know you don't do a lot of you don't do a lot of press stuff. So if
Almost
it's
never.
right, so if it's moved you, it's got to be good.
That's right. That's right. I mean, if people care about my opinion at all, and I am flattered if you do, then yeah, I do not support things willy nilly. If I have written about something and it's not specifically calling it out as a hoax or something similar, then it's because I believe in it very passionately. So yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Very cool. Wow. Well, I'm gonna check that out. Maybe that's what I need to get into. I mean, because I know that like with these games, there's different. Obviously, like there's a game for like tarot cards, right? There's a different theme for
Yeah.
everyone.
Well,
Maybe
you're
I
not
just
a
need to
big,
find one that I'm interested in.
yeah, like you're not like you're far more into horror than you are things like fantasy. So like you would probably have fun playing Dungeons and Dragons, but not as much fun as you would have playing a horror game, probably.
Right. Right. I
So
could relate to that more. So.
yes, it'd be
Hmm.
much more in line with your specific interests.
Interesting. Interesting. But no, I do I like that. I like that fresh perspective. We need more of those. Um in this field. God knows we've rehashed the same stuff over and over again. And we need those we need those fresh even us, right? You and I, like we sometimes have to stop and well, what did I say before? Take stock, right? Of of things and get a new perspective on the situation. So that's a good takeaway. I dig it. I dig it. Well,
All right.
speaking of things that have been rehashed over and over and over again, Tobias, do you have any personal history with Beltane?
Oh boy. Personal history with Beltane.
You guys went to college
Oh yeah,
together, right?
we go way back. Yeah, we used to date in high school, if you can believe that.
Oh God.
No, right. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's not really a thing that I grew up celebrating, but everybody was always aware of May 1st as a significant date, right?
Yeah.
And nobody called it Beltane in Wisconsin or Illinois, the two states where I spent my childhood. But everybody was aware that May Day was maybe not as big a deal as the major holidays, of course, but it was a thing that we recognized. And so yeah, I mean, it wasn't unusual to decorate your space with flowers or something similar. And so in that way, which is interesting now thinking back on it, in that way, it was this surviving tradition from this pre-Christian era, that has managed to hang on for centuries and centuries post conversion. So I think my history with Beltane is probably the fairly typical one. I would guess, just based on my experience. But yeah, I've got a little bit. I've dabbled, I guess.
Dabbled with some Beltane. I'm going to use the term Beltane to kind of make it simple. Um, of course, there are a bunch of Wiccans right now that are going to be, fucking clutching their pentagrams or whatever they do.
Yeah,
Mad that I'm
sure.
not talking about their way of Beltane. But to be quite
What's
honest
their
with you,
way of Beltane?
well, I'm sure they have their own fucking. I don't know. I'm not on witch talk. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure
Some
that
dumb
they've got
way that
their
isn't
own.
based in historical fact at all?
Well,
Yeah, probably.
right, some shit they made up that sounds cool and it makes for cool content on the internet, so that's what they do. Which is whatever. You can celebrate Beltane any way that you want to, but again, I'm going to refer to it as Beltane. But basically, all it is, the only thing it is celebrating the coming of summer, right? Transitioning from the cold
Right.
months to the warm months, right? And while we have spring the whole time, some people were traditionally previously summer was kind of marked as being May 1st because that's when we really start getting better weather and things like that.
Sure. Well, the thing is, we have spring now. People didn't always have spring. There were plenty of cultures that basically had summer and winter,
Well, that's
and
true.
that was
Yeah,
fucking it. That's all
very
you
true.
got. Those were the two seasons.
Yeah. And
So,
so, right. So this is like that official marker. Like, yay, winter's over. It's now summer. Like, that's it.
right.
And that's what it is. It's a celebration of life, especially, particularly because, I mean, we're lucky. We live in homes, but it didn't used to be that way. And lots and lots and lots of people would die in the wintertime. So if you made it to the end of winter and you're now in summer, you got a million and one reasons to be happy. I tell you what, it is
Right.
a big reason to celebrate. As well as some superstition in there. So Beltane, it can go by many names depending on the culture that you are and who exactly is celebrating it and whatnot. But I'm just going to call it Beltane because that
Well,
just keeps it easy.
because it's important to note where it fucking started too. Like, you
That's
want to talk about uh, fucking Wicca or any other New Age religion, and why they irritate me so much is because of this tendency to conflate beliefs across cultures that are not fucking related at all and had nothing to do with each other, um, and to strip these cultural beliefs and celebrations of their history, of their real life history. And so we know where Beltane originated. It is not a fucking mystery. It is a Celtic holiday. It was celebrated by those specific people of the British Isles, and that's where it fucking comes from. And the oldest record of it is from like the 10th century, which, by the way, is way it's from an Irish text in the 10th century, which is way post conversion. So it was written by like Christian monks in the 10th century. But we know where it's from, and we know largely what it was about ish, about as much as we can when it comes to surviving pagan beliefs, because again, they were only recorded after conversion to Christianity. So they're all sort of viewed through that lens. And we can get into that because that actually that gets into the name Beltane itself and why it's called that specifically. Because there is some discord, some argument or debate, I should say, about why that is. Is it because of an association with Belus, which was a specific deity, to like pre-Christian deity? I think I'm pronouncing that right. Or is it because later on Christian scholars associated it with the demon Baal? I don't know, but there is a debate there, and you have to recognize that every single pagan belief recorded by Christians is going to be colored by their Christian perspective. And so everybody who thinks that they're doing exactly what pagans did because they read some shit written several hundred years later by guys who are of a completely different religion, well, I hate to tell you this, but you might not be. You might just be doing something totally different. So anyway, I feel like I'm digressing, but yeah, God damn it, it's a Celtic holiday, and that just is what it is. So just fucking own it, people.
Yes, Beltane itself is a Celtic holiday. But there are many other holidays that are the exact same motherfucking thing as Beltane, but they're called something else. So, which is all I was getting at. And where does it come from? We all know where it comes from. We all know where all the fucking major holidays come from. Everybody stole them from the early pagans. That's fine. It happens. We should be used to that by now. But yes, for simplicity's sake, we're just really going to be mostly talking about Beltane. But let's talk about the history of this holiday, because you're going to have tons of people. I had said that, last year I attended the psychic fair, which this year was the psychic fair, but last year was the Beltane festival. And what made it a Beltane festival? I really don't know, because I don't know that you're supposed to buy a bunch of pretty rocks on Beltane for Beltane, but
Maybe.
I suppose that was the case. There was not one fire while I was there, but it was raining. So maybe they had plans for that. And then it just, it got, the gods decided it was not the day. Right. So I don't know. Um, anyway, Tobias, you are definitely a better history guy than I am, especially when it comes to these types of topics. Do you want to give us just very early, where did Beltane start? What did it represent at the time? And then we'll kind of do, like, I guess, a timeline through the years and how it evolved, and until we get to modern day.
Sure. So yeah, like I said, I think I've been saying Celtic this whole time. I think Gaelic is more appropriate of
Do you know
a
what the
term to
difference
use.
is
So
between Celtic and Gaelic? Because you know what, honestly, I don't.
yeah, I'm not good at explaining
If you don't, if
things.
that's okay. It's just curious.
No, so like, okay, so like Celtic, I think, is a larger sort of umbrella term that is meant to encompass this much broader group. And so that can actually include people of Celtic communities in like Central Europe.
Okay.
And Gaelic can refer specifically to the language of the Gaels, so like the Irish and Scottish people. And so the reason that Gaelic might be better here is because we're not talking about something that would be common to like all Celts everywhere, right?
Okay.
We're talking about something that is specific to the people of Ireland and Scotland.
Okay. Yep.
If
All right.
okay, yeah.
I'm on board.
So I apologize for that. I should have been saying Gaelic this whole time, but I caught myself, and so that's what we're doing.
You
Okay, so
became the
anyway,
people that you hate. It's
it's true, and people get mad about me, and I know that other people have fucking spring festivals. I get that, or summer festivals or whatever, because humans are humans all over the world. So of course, a bunch of us thought of the same thing in different places. Of fucking course we did. We're all the same.
yeah.
That
Right.
shouldn't
Right.
surprise anybody.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But like, it's not as cool if we were to take this up because basically, like, what it is right now for like, let's just say like you're just a normal person, right? For us
right.
now, it's Easter, right? And Easter is like mainstream in America, right? So like that is
Sure.
that's our Beltane or whatever. So like that's more common. This episode, you probably wouldn't have clicked on it if we called it Origins of Easter or whatever. Maybe I will call it that. I don't know.
You
But it,
could, because Easter is also fascinating in that, it is also, at least as recorded by some Christian scholars,
yeah,
an ancient or an older pagan festival. Although Easter has been, was Christianized in a way I think that Beltane was not.
yes,
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, well, and again, like Easter is not a Gaelic holiday, had nothing to do with them at all. In fact, that would have been a like a northwestern European, like a Germanic holiday.
yep,
But that's my fucking beef with like Wiccans and neo pagans, right? Is that they'll take like a fucking Germanic or Norse holiday, and they'll just be like, okay, well, I got this Gaelic holiday and I got this Norse holiday. I'm just going to smush them together into my belief system. I'm just going to conflate it all and just, now it's the same thing. Eat shit. It's not the same thing. Like none of this shit is the same, because it all comes from separate cultures that deserve to have their own fucking history and to have that history recognized and not just all smushed up into your bland gray Wiccan bullshit. Ugh, drives me nuts. Anyway, so Easter totally deserves its own episode because it is equally sweet, and I have received no less than like 3 Easter Bunny reports. I swear to God.
oh my
But
god, I think we would have talked, like, had we not skipped last week's episode, we probably would have talked about those.
we
And
definitely would have.
a little
So
disappointed
put a
that we
pin in
didn't
those
get
for
to,
later.
but yeah, so there
Yeah.
will be more Wednesdays.
Yes, for sure. But anyway, okay, so Beltane is this Gaelic holiday. Like you already mentioned, it is the introduction to summertime. And so traditionally, this was a time when, well, first of all, you would do your summertime things. So cattle, for instance, would be put to their summer pastures, but of course, there's superstition that goes along with this, and so look, if there's one thing we know about humanity, it's that we will take any excuse to start lighting fires. We fucking love fire. We've always loved fire. We will continue to love fire. We just want more fire in our lives, and so naturally, there would be celebrations involving like the lighting of bonfires. And again, there is scholarly debate to be had here, but I think the most common interpretation of that act would be as a sort of like sympathetic magic, mimicking the sun and the return of the sun into our lives. As the days start getting longer. And so, you'd light these bonfires, the smoke of which was said to ward a person against things like ill luck or evil spirits. And so you would want to make sure that you smudge yourself with the smoke. You'd want to get that all around your house and your property and your cattle. You might even partake in like jumping over the bonfire or trying to get your cows to jump over the bonfire. Like all of this neat shit. This was supposed to be the second day of the year in addition to Samhain, where the itsasherz, who were the later sort of literary version of the Tuatha De Danann, were said to be more prevalent. Like, so you would want to like leave offerings out for them. A very common one, of course, would be milk. If you've got some milk, everybody knows that, fairies that used to be gods love milk. And so you would want to make sure that they're all taken care of. You would want to take some flowers. So like primroses, for instance, were very popular. Kind of any spring flower that reminds you of the sun. So something colorful, like a nice yellow flower, you would want to have around. That could help ward off something like the itsasherz. So if you're worried about them, like, I don't know, stealing your butter, just put some, around your butter churn or under your butter churn or something, and that'll ward them off, or just anything similar. But that's what it was really. It was like summertime. It was fun summertime Halloween, and that's what people did. And I don't know how people necessarily have twisted it since, because I try to ignore a lot of that, because I swear it takes years off my life to fucking think about. But yeah, anyway, that's sort of a broad view of the ancient Beltane.
And that's a pretty good overview of it. So then, of course, what happened with Beltane? Well, the Christians came in. They were like,
They always do.
We like what you're doing. We like what you're doing a little too much. So we're gonna take it, and of course they did. I think this is probably our only chance to talk about Valpurgisnacht, which
Sure.
is very much a more a Christian holiday. Let's be honest here. So Valpurgisnacht happens, or Valpurgis night, or whatever you want to call it.
Witch's Night.
Witch's Night. Yep, Witch's Night is a great name for it. While it is, heavily associated with Saint, her name's Valpurga, Saint Valpurga. This kind of ended up becoming a celebration of life and renewal and light and good times into. We love the renewal stuff, but we can only have renewal if we get rid of all the evil and all the witches. So instead of burning fire and giving offerings to the fairies to bring in a good harvest and a good year and a good future going forward, we're going to burn the fire and ward off the witches in the area. And that's mostly, again, attributed to Saint Valpurga, who is known for coming into Germany, a really long time ago. I don't have the dates here. I don't know why. I'm bad at this.
8th century.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you. And coming in and converting those people to Christianity. So of course, then they kind of take over this whole ordeal and start celebrating it. Apparently, I did not know this, but Saint Valpurga. So they are in like a tomb of someplace, and the tomb creates oil.
Yeah. So that's a thing. I mean, you need that to be a saint, not oil specifically. Did we mention this is in Germany, by the way? Because this is important.
Yes,
it's true.
Yes,
like,
she came and converted the Germans. Yeah, I think I said that.
okay, good. Because this has nothing to do with like Ireland or the Gales or Beltane. This is its own thing, because again, people come up with this shit all over the world because we're humans everywhere we go. Everywhere we live across the entire beautiful green globe, we are human beings, and so anyway, oil is one type of miracle, right? Like, so to be like, for canonization, you have to have performed a certain number of miracles. And I want to say, don't quote me on this, because I'm not Catholic and I'm too lazy to go get up and ask my wife, who was raised Catholic. But I believe one of the miracles for sainthood has to occur after you've died, at least one. And so that can be a lot of things. That could be like incorruptibility, where your corpse doesn't seem to decompose ever, or it could be like the secretion of magical fluids like oils and things.
Ugh.
But no, it's definitely a thing. And yeah, you want to read about some weird shit, like get into Catholicism. Like it's like, I don't know. It's basically just, and people are going to hate this, but it's just like Christian paganism in a way, where they're like, let's keep some of the most bonkers things from paganism, but we're going to call it Christianity. And which is kind of why like evangelicals and Baptists and stuff really don't get along with Catholics, because they take a very sort of strict view of the Bible, and they're very like a very literal interpretation. Whereas Catholicism is just like, whatever, dude, anything goes. Like when we were trying to convert pagans, we had to just roll a lot of weird shit into this. And so now it's too late. Like we're in too deep. So we're just going with it. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, secreting oil is, that's to be expected, honestly.
I d- it's just so. This was like a whole nother turn that I did not expect my research to take in this. I'll be honest. Like, I don't know shit about Catholicism. I was not raised Catholic. Man, they're wacky. And the fact that like this corpse produces oil, and they're like, oh hell yeah, it's holy. It's just
Oh yeah,
hilarious to me.
it's a miracle.
I'm not personally. I don't really want to rub myself in corpse oil. Well, maybe I do. Rubbing yourself in corpse oil sounds cool. You know,
If it cured cancer, fuck yeah, I don't care where it comes from.
oh, that's a good
You
point.
know, thanks, Walpurga.
But there was really nowhere else for us to talk about this. I think one day, maybe we'll pick apart some Catholicism a little bit, just because it is very ritualistic, and that'd be kind of neat.
Right.
I definitely want to cover miracles at some point, like genuine miracles, and the oil of saints is a
So
genuine miracle. You know.
right. So like oil of saints, magnets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, magnets. Yeah, totally. Big old miracles. But anyway, I had to throw that in there. I mean, come on, it's fucking bone oil. That's very
Yeah, no, that's super rad.
but as you can see, again, no surprise here. A lot of all religions pretty much, have stolen from the originals. And this was just kind of a funny example of that, because they get together and they make this big fire, and of course they have this big feast, and to ward off the witches, basically, in the area, because some woman one time in Germany came and converted the Germans to from heathenism to Christianity, which
Yeah,
wasn't a
pretty
very big
much.
jump. It's just that instead of you doing this in a more positive, in a more positive light, instead of you bringing in the good times, we are banishing the old times. It's just kind of a pessimistic view on the world. I feel like we were probably a lot happier pre-Christianity, but I wasn't there. I don't know.
It depends
So
on where you lived, actually. I think anyway. You can look at, well, going back to the Gaelic peoples, right? Like,
yes,
so you can look at Ireland specifically, and you can see in their written history, like just how much of those pre-Christian beliefs they were allowed to keep. I mean, not all conversion happened exactly the same. And people need to understand too that like conversion is a process that takes place over generations, right? And so and so the idea, for instance, that there had to be this pagan underground of people who were being oppressed otherwise, by the overriding, Christian authoritarians or something. Like that was always horseshit, because the beliefs didn't have to go underground. Like the traditions didn't have to go underground because they're all kept,
yeah,
and so you see this again specifically, I think, in a very obvious way in like Ireland, in like Ireland, where you've got the Tuatha De Danann that went from being like pre-Christian deities to being like spirits of the land and fairies, right? And so the beliefs were kept, they just changed. The stories were kept, they just were updated, right? And so I guess like where I'm going with that is that like they weren't really missing out on a lot. And what they gained in, say, like suddenly having a written history and literacy and, any kind of like forward thinking, because you have to remember too that like with these Christian monks came a lot of the like the knowledge and education of Rome,
True.
and these people didn't have that before, so they didn't have aqueducts and fucking paved roads and shit. Like glass windows, can you imagine like how
True.
crazy that would be if you'd never seen a glass window before, and suddenly you've got these fucking dudes showing up with the magic of fucking glass. So they did gain a lot, and I think that since then, like all human hierarchies, a lot of bad shit has come out of it. But like in the conversion itself, people wanted it. They were like, look at all this rad shit we get. Also, this religion is telling me that I'm awesome and I'm going to be saved. And, maybe my old one was telling me that I suck and I'm going to get, like, who knows what's going to fucking happen to me. Or I was born to die or something. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I want to hear about how I'm going to heaven. Like, that sounds rad. Let's do that. So, I'm
I
just
guess
saying. Anyway.
I guess so. I'll give a point there. I'll give it to you. And of course the more general term, what people in America that are into esoteric topics are probably more familiar with Beltane as a term. But what is really accurate is Mayday. Mayday is really the general grab bag for all of these different cultures and what it is that they are celebrating and what it is that they're representing. And as mentioned, previously, I think just as a human, our experience is, yay, the sun's here again. That's pretty natural. So all these different cultures have very different ways, not necessarily different ways of practicing. It is really interesting how um, similar the celebrations are. But, back then when you didn't really have to like go into the office and work a 9 to 5 job, like you had all this time to go explore the world. So cultures
Right.
crossing isn't really that surprising. So I don't think that there's any supernatural significance per se to the fact that they all celebrated pretty similarly. They do have their little bit of differences, but like I don't think it's enough for us to stop and look at it and go, oh, there's something there. Fairies are real because of this. That doesn't.
No, any place that has the same seasons with human beings in it, those human beings, whether they speak or not, are going to come up with similar belief systems
Yeah,
around those seasons.
right. And I
Obviously.
mean, like, what more can you do besides make a fire? It's
Yeah.
back then. Um, and but of course, as time has gone on, Beltane kind of lost its luster a lot, right? And again, all these different cultures were kind of intermingling, maybe creating something new, maybe not. And Beltane, while it was still being celebrated, was definitely just going by a different moniker in the areas that it originated from, depending on where you were. And it has this strange resurgence that has happened recently, especially here in America, which I think is a little odd. I don't know, Tobias, what do you think is up with this resurgence of people, taking on the let's just say the wheel of the year, right? People are now starting to take that on. I mean, do you think it's just because they want another reason to celebrate and it gives them somewhere to belong? Do you think it's because we're moving away from Christianity as a nation and just kind of we notice it more here? I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, the wheel of the year is made up bullshit anyway. Now, if we're talking about, because there are four Gaelic seasonal festivals. So you've got Samhain, you've got Imbolc, you've
Hmm.
got Beltane, and you've got Lunasa. That's it. Like those are the four. Like those are the four seasonal Gaelic festivals. If you're adding any more than that, then you're doing that conflation thing that I talked about earlier that I don't love. But yeah, no, I think that if you want to know why people are interested in this stuff, I think it's because spirituality is an intrinsic quality of humanity, and people are disgusted by current religious hierarchy. And as a result, they are seeking spirituality in the same things, in the pure phenomena that our ancestors did, in the turning of the seasons, in these natural phenomena. I think that's what people are turning to. And so since we have a record of how these things were traditionally celebrated, or at least, probably were, maybe were, depending on how much you trust the actual source, then it makes it easier for people to try to practice that inherent spirituality, um, you know, separate from gross fucking religious hierarchy that most sane people don't want anything to fucking do with, right?
Well, do you think that's why people are now here in America celebrating Beltane instead of, say, celebrating, Witches' Night? Right? Why? Why aren't they? Is it because there's the Christianity tied to it, and they're trying to separate from that?
Probably. Like that would
Mm,
be my guess, I know when we lived in Madison, they always did, like they would have solstice bonfires, and they were never attached to any religious festival, Gaelic or fucking otherwise. Um, but they would always have them, and that to me again was just this sort of expression of pure spirituality. This sort of uh, this well, and almost agnostic spirituality, really, sort of the admittance that that spirituality is an intrinsic part of humanity without having to put a label on it, and whether, and thus actually argue whether or not it speaks to a larger reality outside of the human mind, um, and so if in calling something Beltane, I don't think, now maybe they are, but I really doubt that all of a sudden that this Beltane festival is taking on the same significance as it would have for, say, you know, um, an Irish person in antiquity,
yeah.
where they're making sure to leave out offerings for the Tuatha De Danann to make sure that these, capricious gods weren't going to just fuck with them later, or like steal their cattle or spoil their milk or something. So I think it takes on all of the trappings of it, but it's not necessarily fulfilling the exact same purpose, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, there is, something to be said about the winter time and coming out of it. You said it in the beginning of this episode. Hell, it's nice out, right? It's time to get outside. Um, we definitely have a renewed sense of self by the time winter ends. A lot of people suffer from seasonal depression. That's very real. That's always been around, I'm sure. And hey, you know what? If you want to celebrate the sun coming out, I don't see any fault with that. Um, why we're trying to attribute it to specific cultures is kind of strange to me. I'll be honest with you. Why aren't we just making our a new thing? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
the same thing, but why don't we just call it something else?
Well, I mean, that's what what people did in Madison. Like I was saying, like we would have like solstice festivals and things that weren't necessarily attached to anything, like to any specific belief system. But as to why people would prefer to call it Beltane, for instance, I mean, I get it. People put a lot of faith in things just because they're old, right? Like They think that because something is old, it means something more than something new. And whether or not that is true, that's what people believe. Like that, for whatever reason, like that is what people take comfort in, like the traditional, the ancient, right? And so it doesn't surprise me that people would want to just basically kind of start a new thing or start their own version of this thing, but still call it Beltane, because then it has the weight of history behind it. You've got all of these centuries. It's a connection to the past. For many of us, it would be a connection to our own ancestors, right? Um, and so I definitely I get that, and that makes sense to me. But if people wanted to just start a new thing uh, for heralding in the official start of spring or summer or whatever you want to call it, I think that would be cool too. There's no reason not to.
So I want to connect this with our listeners a little bit. And I want to give people some ideas of what they can do to celebrate the coming of summer. But first, I'll ask you, Tobias, how do you celebrate bringing in the summer?
Oh boy, I don't. Honestly, I really don't. I probably should. The only real seriously, like the only holiday that I would say I actually ritualistically celebrate is Yule, like the Yuletide Christmas season. Like that's really it for me. We put up Halloween decorations, and like that's cool, but I don't really do anything special for that other than handing out candy and stuff, and I don't know, watching the normal amount of horror movies for me, which is a lot. Um, and then other than that, like I recognize that Easter exists. I recognize that Beltane exists. I recognize that May Day exists as a holiday, and Walpurgisnacht and everything. And I think that they're interesting on like an intellectual level, but I just have not incorporated them into like my personal spirituality in the same way that I have like the Yuletide and Christmas season. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't really do anything. I guess when it starts getting nice out, I have to start mowing the lawn again. So there's that.
Your ritualistic first mowing of the lawn. That's
Right.
hey, it can look like however it looks like to you. We do celebrate Easter, but definitely not because I'm a Christian or anything. Like, because I'm not. We just do it because I like to give gifts, and I think coloring eggs is fun, and hiding eggs is fun, and making Easter baskets is fun.
Sweet.
So that's probably as close as I get to it. Is that I definitely get into Easter quite a bit, but bunnies and stuff, more bunnies and less Jesus. That's-
Sure. Well, all the fun parts of most of the holidays don't really have much to do with the more religious aspects of them
no,
anyway. So
yeah,
yeah, none of the fun shit about Easter has anything to do with Christianity.
no, not at all. And so and I think people are always surprised when I'm like, when they're trying to like make plans with me or whatever on Easter, and I'm like, I can, it's Easter, and they're like, what, you? And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, bunnies are cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, like my parents always do something for Easter, and so we grew up celebrating it. We would get Easter baskets and stuff, and just as an adult, like now we live not super far, but far enough away where it's like I'm not. It's Sunday. I'm not going anywhere.
That's
You
fair.
know.
That's fair. But maybe you celebrate Easter, maybe you don't. It's kind of easier for me because I have a child, right? And it's more of a childlike holiday.
Right.
What would I do if it was just me and a partner, right? Would I make an Easter basket for them? I don't know. But maybe you, listener, maybe you want to do something a little extra special for yourself this year. Maybe you really, especially in the times that we've been living in lately, you can absolutely have something that's a little ritualistic, that kind of pumps up your mood. Not that it's a fix all, but I'm a fan of the little things. So I curated this list of things that you can do to celebrate Beltane or just the coming of better times, right? So of course, number one, spring cleaning. And that's something I think a lot of people probably kind of naturally do anyway. You've heard the title, but why not really start your year out fresh with a nice clean home, right? A nice clean environment. Spring cleaning is different from regular cleaning. I'm sure you know. Go through. I say this all the time, but here's another reminder: clean out those damn fast food sauce packets. You are never going to use that fire sauce from Taco Bell. You can always get more.
Yeah, they're not running out of fire sauce.
No, you're fine. Do that, and of course, put up some colorful decorations. Get rid of the drab and dreary blues of the winter, right? Put some yellow in there, right? Put some nice green. Lighten up your living space. Another thing that you can do. This is fun all year. You could do it anytime, but especially you can subscribe some significance to it, and you can light a fire. That is the most traditional way to celebrate the coming of summer, is to have some type of fire. Maybe you have a bonfire. Maybe you invite people over, right? Why not? Maybe
Sure.
you don't have the capability of having bonfire. That's okay. Get some nice candles. There's some really good smells out there, you know?
This is an interesting Beltane tradition, specifically Beltane tradition, is what people would do is they would extinguish all of the fires in their home. Now, keep in mind, everything from heating to cooking to light all would have been fire, right? And so they would make sure all of the fires in their house were completely extinguished. And then they would have these celebratory, like festive bonfires. And then because of the special significance of those bonfires, they would light a torch from that and then use that to relight all of the fires in their home, thinking then that would bring them good luck for that season, right? Like basically taking some of the sympathetic magic from these bonfires and applying it to their own home. So that's a neat idea and something that a lot of people could do. So if you've got a specific fire that you're going to have, even if it's just like a large candle or something, that you're going to designate as sort of your Beltane fire, right? Like that's your representation of the sun. Take that and then use it to light all of the rest of your fires. Again, even if that's just candles, it doesn't matter. And then in doing so, you're sort of spreading that light throughout your space, bringing light back to the land, incorporating that sympathetic magic of the sun into your space, and it's something anybody can do. So have at it.
Very good point. This one is also again very traditional. It was believed that of course, the first morning dew on May 1st, had some type of healing property, or what was special in some type of way. Go
Oh yeah,
outside, run your hands in some grass, and then rub that shit all over you. Why not? Your neighbors
women
might
used
think
to
you look
wash
great.
their faces with it. Actually,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
And they a lot of them died from diarrhea back then, so don't put it in your mouth. But
a lot of people died from diarrhea.
but go
So many
outside
people.
and rub it all over yourself, and just have a moment with yourself, rubbing yourself down with the morning dew in your front yard, right in front of your neighbors. Encourage your neighbors to get involved if they come out and ask what you're doing. Um,
Ask them to please rub some dew on you.
Rub dew on each other. I was gonna say that. Find a
Yeah, have a
neighbor, or
statement prepared for the police when they show
yep,
up.
exactly. Yep. Rub it on the police when they get there, let them know. Just lightly put them on the ground and roll them in it. That would go over very well. Um,
Right. Don't do any of that.
don't do any of that. But go get your lover, and you guys go out in your backyard with your nice fenced-in yard and do what you do.
There you go.
Do the do.
That's none of my business.
And of course, on top of the colorful decorations, decorate with flowers. Get some nice foliage in your house. You guys have a plant house, right? You guys got lots of real plants.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of plants here.
I can't take care of them. They all die. That's me. I gave up on that. But I'll tell you, it always feels good when you get a new one. And then for me, a week later, I'm like, oh, this was a bad idea.
It feels good for you. It doesn't feel for the 50th plant to be condemned to a slow, agonizing death in your apartment.
They all talk about me at the plant store. Whenever I walk in, they all like wither
Yeah, no,
instantly.
you are legend now to them.
Yeah.
You're a story they tell their kids to fucking scare them.
Yeah.
Scare them straight.
They see me coming, they're like, oh my God, she's real.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not good, you're gonna end up in Asher's apartment. Yeah.
They're like, whatever, Mom. Then I show up. They're like, oh shit.
Exactly. I should have believed.
But some people are good at that type of thing. Another thing that you can do, you can make some arts and crafts. Making a flower crown. That's pretty traditional. If you're into that type of thing, you certainly can. I've had friends who regularly go on walks and they make little flower crowns kind of as they go. I'm not an arts and crafts person, so I'm not really into that. But there was something important in that, aside from the flower crown. Going on a walk, get outside, right? You can now. The wind doesn't hurt your face anymore. Like, go enjoy some outside time. I cannot stress this enough. Don't just do it on May 1st. Do it literally every second that you can.
It's true.
Getting outside, you will feel better. I know sometimes it can be very difficult to God, do I know, especially right now, to switch your mindset over, put on some pants and go the fuck outside. I get it. But when you do, you feel so much better. Like it's one of the best things that you can do for your mental health, and it's free. How can you contend with that? And then, last on my list here is, of course, treat yourself to a giant feast. You don't even have to prepare the feast yourself, but if you like to cook, do it. Beltane, or rather May Day, or whatever the fuck you want to call this holiday, the significance of transitioning from dark to light. It is all about indulging in the simple pleasures because you are lucky enough to have made it this point to say that you can and have the ability to do so. Um, so feasting, that's traditional. We all, as Americans, we all do it every single holiday, right? There's not one holiday that doesn't involve food. This one should too. And good food at that, something that you genuinely enjoy. So, um, those are some simple ways that I brought to the table to tell you how to celebrate this new shift in your life. It's going to be a fantastic year going forward because I said so.
Agreed.
That's because at the end of the day, that is all it takes. I think that this was, we had done this schedule before I had tragedy strike my life. But
Yeah.
um, I think it's a very fitting time to just kind of take a second and discuss mental health in general. And if that's not your bag, go ahead and click off this episode now. But I think for a lot of people, especially right now, a lot of people are having a lot of feelings about a lot of things, and it's important now more than ever for us to kind of take back some control of that. And if doing something as simple as starting a new tradition helps you to signify that, the coming of whatever, um, then do it. If it feels good, do it. Um, this is your life. You're the master of your own universe, and it is a choice. It is a choice for you to continue to keep going and to continue to keep going in a way that um, is fulfilling to you in your life. And I hope that you guys do that. All that aside, really, we just did this because we kind of wanted to talk more about these, weird esoteric practices and, different topics. We like to mix it up here on Wednesdays we talk weird, but I feel like it's been pretty fitting for the time. I feel like this is a good, for me anyway, a good time to shift my perspective. And I hope that this has kind of given you guys a minute to take stock and shift your own perspective as well. because that's
Yeah,
important.
no, it is important. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that, like I mentioned before, I really do believe that spirituality is an intrinsic part of humanity. I don't think there's any escaping that. And regardless of whether or not you think that's simply a function of the human mind with no objective reality outside of our own beliefs, then whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still a part of you, and you still need to indulge that. Um, so absolutely, everything that you just said is important. And I never want people to think that the only way to do things is my way. I know that I have strong opinions on stuff. All right. Like, I get it. I fucking met me, you know, like, I know what I'm like. Um, but I also don't think that necessarily there's anything wrong with, celebrating a Gaelic festival and a Norse festival. As long as, in my opinion, as long as you are specifically honoring those two separate things and sort of acknowledging their separation, that they are distinct, then fine, whatever, do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, look, I'm not breathing down your fucking neck anyway. I'm not going to know what you do. And even if I did, who gives a shit? I'm just some fucking guy. So absolutely, you should just do whatever it takes to get you through the day, because life is fucking hard enough. It really is, without beating yourself up over shit that ultimately doesn't matter that much. So just do everything that Asher said and fucking take care of yourselves.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't culture appropriate either. That's not okay. But
Well, I agree. Obviously, I've been talking about it this whole time.
I
I
know.
don't like it.
I'll do that shit. But you can do things that make you happy just because they make you happy. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm Wiccan, so I'm doing this thing because I like to do it secretly, but I can't just say that because I'm too proud. Like, you can just literally just say that. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. Nobody cares. Yeah.
Right, literally nobody cares. But maybe you want to get more spiritual, and maybe this is kind of your little window into that. I guess that's up to you. What you do with this information is totally up to you. Um, maybe you feel separated from yourself, and this helps you kind of get, ground yourself a little bit. That's fine. I don't personally, I don't give a fuck what you call it. That's me. I just don't care. Whatever it is that you have to do to get yourself through another day and another year and another 10 years, that's what I'm here for, because I can't have you guys dying on me, because I need you to be listening to the show in 10 years, so
It's
that's
true.
number one, of course. Um, Tobias, do you think we have thoroughly covered this topic? Do you think there's anything we're missing? Anything else you want to say?
No, I think we did it.
I think you're right. I think you're right. We'll come back next week with something crazy. I'm sure something bizarre, something weird, something strange. I promise we'll be here. But until then, see you guys back here next Wednesday.